Well, after 16, 17 years, I've decided to upgrade my technology using a microphone. Hopefully it works. Hopefully there's a small improvement. I don't have to yell as much. My early phones, I used to have to yell because I would put the phone far away, and so the microphones weren't as good, and I'd have to yell, and then I just kept yelling after a while. But now I think I can have the phone far away, and I had to have the phone up close. Remember, I used to have the phone up close because of the microphone, and I didn't want to yell. I'm in a park, and people looking at me and saying, thinking strange things. It's interesting because I do feel calmer with this microphone. I don't have to, and the angle's a little bit further back. 17 years. Today, I want to talk about rebirth. Rebirth. That is also connected to reincarnation. And what I've studied, in case you don't know my background, or maybe you do, what I studied is a system called shamanism, which is unlike anything that I'm ever been familiar with, and it's not like your religion or spirituality. It's from my experience now, it's quite different than a lot of these systems. Everybody has a system. Anybody who approaches these kinds of subjects, the stuff we talk about, you have to have a system. You can't be a scientist. You have to have a spiritual system. To talk about incarnation, to talk about UFOs, you can be anybody and say anything you want. You could be an expert and never have seen a spaceship in your life. There's lots of those. I've never seen anything, but I'm a UFO expert. No, you're not a UFO expert. When it comes to the discussions about reincarnation, we're getting into spiritual systems, metaphysics. And my teachings, my studies in shamanism, and I'm a shaman, I consider myself a shaman. My approach is shamanistic. When you think of a shaman, and I've been told by some people, I need dark skin and an accent. Someone told me, if you had dark skin and an accent, you'd be more believable. So there's a lot of, preconceptions. And there's an old style of shamanism, there's a new style. Anyway, in shamanism shares a lot of ideas with what I found is Buddhism and other spiritual systems. Or we can say that other belief systems, religions, and spiritual systems share their beliefs with shamanism. And why do I say that? Is because shamanism predates spirituality, modern spirituality, and religious systems. Shamanism is 10,000 or 15,000 years old. And it is, at its most primordial concept, is just based in the connection to the earth and the spirits of the earth. So it goes back to the most basic practice that somebody in a village, somebody in a village, a medicine person, medicine man, medicine woman, was connecting to those higher spirits or those angelic beings or to the extraterrestrials or the trees or the animals or the earth itself. Maybe it didn't have a name then. It has different names. In Japan, Shintoism is about this connection to nature. So I like to say that because there's a lot of times that people want to say these ideas belong here, but they don't. They're shared, and over time they get modified with ideology and culture and experience, right? The experience of a person who has great foresight will be much better and richer than somebody who's just a novice or just an overconfident acolyte. What you're going to find all these variations. You find a variation in knowledge, because nobody knows everything. Nobody has all the information. No one can say, well, I died and I came back with any real evidence. But as close as we can get, we have near-death experiences. So the thing that is shared between Buddhism and shamanism is this idea of a rebirth cycle. This is very prevalent in Buddhism, is where that the soul starts a journey and it goes through various stages of that journey. And the idea is to complete that rebirth cycle. Now, what's important about the rebirth cycle is that once you enter in the physical realm, the material realm, that's when the suffering begins. The material world is a world of suffering. All the life lessons, all the tragedies and the hardships, right? And the mental health challenges, and the people, and the poverty, and the fame, all of this, it's a suffering. Now, when you're born, and we've talked about this in incarnation, there's an incarnation contract. And that's an agreement that your soul has with those people who manage, reality. And you agree to whatever's in that contract, and it can be very simple or straightforward, or it can be very complex. The agreements will have your basic physical life, your experience, your career, your family, and we'll have a number of contingencies, right? If you take this path, if you take this path, if you take that path. And it will have the things you will agree to do. And then, in addition, there will be things at the spiritual level that you will need to achieve. Maybe you need to help certain people. Maybe you will help a certain class of people, right? You will serve a certain class of people. Maybe you will do charity work. Maybe you will teach something. Maybe you will start a business to feed the homeless people, right? One of my tasks was to educate people on the existence of people from other planets. That's not an easy task. It's very upsetting to someone's career and personal life and financial life when you start talking about something that the government doesn't like you talking about. But that was one of my things which, intellectually, logically, it doesn't make any sense at all, and it's very difficult to prove, and there's a lot of obstacle, and there's a risk of life. And if you survive that, at the end of it, you're not going to come out the same as you went in. But I did it because I understood, okay, it's in my contract, I have to do it. And I can do it begrudgingly. This is the other thing. You can do things begrudgingly, and they can drag you down the stairs one step at a time. Boom, 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 boom. Resisting all the way. Or you can say, well, if you understand, you say, okay, I embrace it, I do it. Either way, it's difficult. Either way, you have to do it. But if you resist and you bang your head all the way and you yell and scream, it just takes longer. Or you might not get it done. I don't know what's in your agreement, what's in your contract. Your soul, your incarnation contract. I don't know. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you think you know. Because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of influence. There's a lot of negative entities. There are things influencing you, trying to take you off your path. So that's the second part of it. You have these things you have to do, you've agreed to do. When you agree to do it, it's pretty simple. Right? When you're in the other realm and you say, okay, you're going to talk about these subjects, that's easy. I understand everything. They're here. I know everything. I have a full knowledge. Right? When you're at that level before birth, you got full knowledge. And you've got confidence, and you have no fear. And you've got these other beings who are completely supporting you, unconditional love. Then you get born into the physical world. It's very different. It's very harsh. It's not unconditional love. You don't have your memory. You forgot everything. You forgot everything you were told. The kid comes in. First of all, you forget everything. Now you're a baby. You can't even walk. I got to talk about this. I can't even speak. Wah! I can't speak. I can't walk. I got to wait. I got to grow. Then you got to go through all the growth signs, all the stages of puberty. If you survive puberty and you get into your early 20s, now all of a sudden you've been 20 years. Right? It's a whole different ball game. Now you've got a relationship, you've got a career, you forgot all this stuff. What are you talking about? Soul contract. I don't remember anything. I got a job. Or look at me, I don't need to work. I got lots of money. I won lots of money. I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything. I just sit on the beach all day. So it's not easy. I understand that. People who've gone through it understand it's not easy. It's not easy opening up a soup kitchen because you got to get the money. You got to put the time in. You might lose your family over whatever you're doing because they might not support you. I didn't buy into this. But I got to do it. I got to do it. You do it, I'll go the other way. So you might have, the family issues. You got financial issues, and you got to go get certifications. You got to get building permits, business permits. It's not easy. Whatever you do is not easy. If you even get to the point of doing it. But remember, you're on this cycle. So we've established that you've got these agreements that you're going to do certain things. These things you do not only benefit others, it benefits yourself. That's part of your spiritual growth. It's not just, you're not just helping people, you're helping yourself. When you help somebody, you help yourself. Right? You understand, that's a spiritual understanding. I help you, I help myself. In the material world, it's like I have to help myself. F you. It's completely opposite. And that's why all the spiritual systems teach. What do they teach? Love everybody. Give compassion to your situation. Forgiveness, compassion, love. That's what they teach. That's the ultimate level. So now, why have I taken the long view of explaining this? Because let's say you go through your life and you do your best, but you don't get it done. You didn't learn what you came here to learn. Remember, you come in, when you are born, you're coming in with some objective. I want to understand love. I want to understand pain. I want to overcome my anger. I want to overcome my fear. I want to learn to forgive, not to hold on, not resentment. I want to release resentment. From my previous life, I had a lot of resentment. What people did. So these are very small things, right? But they're very powerful in a person's life. So you come here, and let's say you're getting over your fear. You're afraid of something. Afraid of abandonment. And so you fear abandonment, and to overcome your fear, you start taking drugs. Now you're addicted to drugs. You're taking heroin, cocaine. You're a drug addict. You're alcoholic. Because you're unable to face the fear of what your parents did of abandonment. Let's just say, as an example. It doesn't matter what it is. It's big or small. It doesn't matter. So you go through your cycle, and at the end, you recover from addiction, but you didn't achieve that spiritual goal. And we don't know what it is, whatever it was. Right? So I got over my addiction, and then you die. What happens is you didn't complete your agreement, and you get reborn into this physical reality with an additional lesson. Not only the lesson of the fear of abandonment, but also maybe addiction or something, or some other fear. Now you got more. Now you got two problems, and you get reborn, and life is hard, and you come back, you're dead. You didn't get it done, and you say, "Well, I didn't get it done. I didn't get it done because I had challenge. I didn't have any money. Nobody loved me. My parents died. The dog died. I lost my pen. I had a problem with insomnia. My mother yelled at me too much. And I didn't know how to cook." Now you've got, right? So now you've died twice. Now there's another lesson you didn't learn. That's 3. So you got to go again. Now you got three things to do. Now usually, from my observation, and again, that's just my observation, my opinion, people who have all of these rebirths, they tend to be the ones who are struggling the most right now. the addiction, born into the wrong families, or difficult situations, homelessness, poverty. It's because, their level of spiritual self-worth is really low and they can't get out. And there's more suffering. Every time there's like a fail, there's more suffering, more suffering. And so you're in pain. What do you do when you're in pain? You take something to relieve your pain. What do you do when you're suffering from all kinds of things that you can't put your finger on? You take something to numb that. You take some kind of drug, chemical, alcohol. Right? It's normal. So some people can still succeed and mask all that and still kind of achieve stuff. So the problem is, from my observation, the problem with what's happened is the world has been structured so that you don't succeed on a spiritual level. Right? Because you enter the material world and you focus on the material aspects. My career, my level of wealth, my beauty, right? My beauty, my accumulation of things, it's all myself. Accumulation, what do I get? How good do I look? It's all about material things. How famous, now it's how famous can I get? How many views can I get? You see what it's me, right? How much money can I get? Instead of saying, is a physical body is a vessel for spiritual growth. When I die, everything that I have will not come with me. Yeah, I will pass some stuff on to my children if I have children. So the question is, well, does career matter? Sure. But is it everything? Is money important? Sure. Is it everything? Does it tell you who kind of person you are? Are you a better person because you have lots of money? Are you a good person because you're beautiful? Are you a bad person because you're ugly? If you're overweight, should you spend 20 years battling obesity, or should you spend 20 years trying to ascend spiritually and to share your gifts with the world and to be someone who achieves what they came here to achieve? I don't think you've come here to achieve, losing weight. I'm gonna be born into this world, into this body. I want to be born into the fattest person I can get, not too fat. And I want to spend my whole life losing weight. Would that sound like a spiritual goal? You're signing your incarnation contract, Your goal is to make as much money as you can in your life. That doesn't sound like a spiritual goal. I'm not saying you don't have to do that. You can make as much money as you can. I'm just saying at the spiritual level, it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with spirituality at all. So that's the balance. The balance is you have your physical life, your material goal, and you have your spiritual life, your spiritual goal. That you have to do it. You have to complete the reasons you came here. Otherwise, you will come back in a negative form. Now, if you go to other spiritual systems that say you'll be reborn as a dog or a goat or a cow, like, because you're going to go backwards. You didn't learn anything. You're a terrible person. Now you're reborn as a dog, and you're somebody's dog, and now you're learning loyalty and servitude. That's also a possibility. That I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You might want to come back as your children's dog so you can look after your children when you're gone, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're forced to kind of, or if you're reborn into a negative life where both your parents are alcoholics and abusive, and your goal is to get out of it and achieve a good life and raise a nice family, that's a very difficult challenge. If you're put in that situation, that's very difficult. A higher soul, like in my understanding, like a high level soul, an advanced being, because there are different levels of soul. There's like a new soul, and there's an old soul. An old soul would be asked, okay, what kind of life do you want? I say, well, you want to be rich and famous. You want to be born in a wealthy family. You want to be born, with a different culture and have cultural issues. Do you want to be born in a, do you want to be born with parents who are both alcoholic and drug addicts, and your father's abusive, and he has a shotgun, and he's probably going to kill you by the time you're 10. But if you survive, then your next challenge, you'll succeed, and then your friends will take all your money and try to destroy you. You know what I mean? An old soul, given those choices, the easy life, the less easy, the medium, and then the terrible. The old soul is, put me there. I want to go that one. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Remember, my view is when you're at that level, at the soul level, it's unconditional love. You have full awareness. You have full knowledge. And you ever seen in your life where you wake up one day or something happens, you're like, I have full awareness. I love everybody. I have no fear. You had those points in your life. That's the point that you're always at when you're making that decision. So an old soul will go, okay, I'm there. I can do it. And they might, you see people overcome adversity. They're pretty tough. The negative of that is like someone who has not accomplished and is stuck in this cycle, and then ends up in an even worse situation, and then they're gonna die young, and then they're gonna keep coming back, right? You're gonna keep coming back. So the issue with the rebirth cycle is that you need to end the cycle. Now, when you get to that level of awareness, then you start doing the right things and making higher decisions. Maybe not when you're 20 or 30, but when you're in your 40s, you realize, okay, I need to make better decisions, higher decisions. You start thinking about spirituality. If you're 50 and having problems in your life still, it's because you're not focused on spirituality. Spiritual growth, that's your way out. Spiritual growth, that's your way out. The goal is, my understanding, is to end the cycle, end the suffering. End the suffering is you learn everything, do everything you've promised to do, agreed to do, learn your lessons. What's the lesson? And if your lesson is, I need to balance my checkbook, that's not the spiritual lesson, okay? And the lessons can be very complicated, and they're not easy to spot, and they take years to figure out. And so you go through and you end the cycle. So when you end the cycle, you end the suffering. When you end the suffering, then you get to make your own choice where you go. So that, let's say this is my first time here and I have a bunch of things and I'm very focused and I come in and I succeed. Now I get to choose where I go. I might choose to come back. I might choose to come back in a more difficult situation. Right? But I am in control. I'm in control. Versus the system, again, the problem is the system, if you look at the system, the way the world is set up is designed for you to fail. Because everything that you're told is important is the opposite of what really is important. And what really is important is your spirit. Spirit. Right? That's what's important. And we need to line up our lives with our spiritual self, our spiritual goals. And that's what makes us happy, right? It doesn't mean you can't succeed and be rich and have that. But it doesn't mean everybody has to be rich to do that. You know, you don't have to. You can be anything you want. You can be anything and be in line with your spirituality. Rebirth.